This is Sexy Funny Raw, where we chat all about the world of sex, from dating and relationships all the way to the adult industry itself. I'm Sylvia Sage, and this is my Pornspective, answering all the questions you weren't even brave enough to ask Google. Get ready, because Sexy Funny Raw starts now.
I like the music. Okay. Welcome back, you guys, to another episode of Sexy Funny Raw. I am your host, Sylvia Sage. Joined in studio with me, of course, is Dr. Eddie, giving us his public health perspective. And I'm so lucky to have our guest in studio for this month, Ashley Ryan. Give us a
Hi, everybody.
Welcome. So we did speak last week about transitioning and the community and how the community is viewing transgender and why it's being talked about more. But today we're really going to be talking about the transitioning process and really how that begins. So, Ashley, would you like to fill us in?
Yeah. So the first step of the transitioning process would be overcoming yourself. Because, I mean, I grew up in the South. I grew up in Dallas, Texas, and went to a super small religious school my whole life. And we were actually taught denial as like a form to combat like facing sins or whatever.
Right. If you think it's not true,
yeah.
it can't be true.
And so I actually first realized I was trans like the first time I heard the word. I was in middle school, like 6th grade. I was like standing by my locker, and the second I heard it, I like knew that's what I was deep down. But there were like ways that I could like occupy my brain with other thoughts whenever I had those thoughts, or like super like forms of denial. Like
Right.
I was like trained for that. And so I was in denial for a long time, and I also just wasn't educated. I had no idea what it meant to be a transgender. There was no visibility, examples of people who had successfully transitioned before. I had only seen people who were just like, the crazy forms of transgender that you'd see on like Maury or something. And so, yeah, the first step would be to identify to yourself.
Right.
And that's literally the hardest step to take. Like as RuPaul says, you can't love someone else if you don't love yourself. So that's pretty much like the same with that. And I was my own worst enemy for years. And like people were like, oh, like, how did you transition? Like, I get asked by like a lot of people early in their transition, like, oh, how did you do it? Like, I literally thought I would never transition because I never thought I would have enough confidence to do so. And to get that confidence, you just have to stop giving a fuck about what other people think of you. That's literally all confidence is not caring. And you will get to your breaking point where your life is just not happy. You might, work your way up and have everything you want in life, which was my story. I had like a boyfriend, I had a job, I had the car, and I just wasn't happy. And I was like, why do I like literally have everything I was aiming for, but I'm still like so very much unhappy.
So you were living an already gay lifestyle before making your transition.
I never came out of the closet per se.
Okay.
I always kind of knew in the back of my head that I was trans, but it was more of like if people asked if I was gay, I would just be like, sure. I wouldn't like really say yes or no, or I was just always kind of like, I'd be like, oh, I'm bi, or I don't even know. Like, I never really came out until I went home with my scuba instructor in college and then showed up the next day in the same outfit to the dining hall, and everyone's like, oh, so you're gay? And I'm like, oh, okay, at least
I guess so.
Yeah, I was like, I guess so. In a different country, no one knows who I am. So
did you have resources then, because you weren't in a place that seems like it was not very populated with like an LGBT type of community, right?
Yeah. I had no resources in Texas, absolutely zero.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, I would say I kind of kept things to the internet, which was like kind of archaic back then. There wasn't like, it was like
the internet was archaic.
It was like
right.
No, but like the trans websites back then were like 90s style, like like just like the look and feel of them, and maybe the font was kind of like a weird serif for some reason, and there's like butterflies on it, and you're like, this is kind of strange. Like this is what I have to do. But Yeah, things are very much different now. There's a lot of resources. Just the internet is a big resource in general, and
So did you start transitioning in Texas, or did you make the move to Los Angeles before you actually started?
I went to college in California.
Okay.
I was like 19. I had never met a gay person before then. Like, so everything was like super new, and I mean, transgender was like so taboo to me, and I like never would even think to even like talk to someone in college about it. It was like my deepest, darkest secret, I would say. And I thought I could like live out my life like being happy as a gay man. I thought I could, like, if I got like big and muscly, and I don't know, and that just wasn't the case. So that's like the first step, is like identifying with yourself and making that first.
That's really interesting that you say that you feel like you almost went the complete opposite. Instead of going feminine, you went ultra masculine.
I did,
to try to mask it.
And that's common, like with Caitlyn Jenner. It's pretty common in the community.
There's another, I can't think of her name right now, but I follow her on TikTok, trans woman who went into like massive bodybuilding. And that was
follow them too. What's her name?
It's a couple.
Oh, no.
He was...
Oh, yeah, maybe.
So when she was still a man, he was married to a very beautiful brunette woman, and now they're still married, but she is completely transitioned, and the wife is very supportive.
There's like a documentary about them or something.
I don't know if there is, but I follow them on
We follow different people.
maybe it's the same, but then obviously it's a very normal trend to go super mask before turning to your actual true feminine side. That's very interesting to me, and I wonder what that is. Dr. Edward, do you think there's a reason behind that, why they would, instead of like accepting their true identity, to go so far in the opposite direction?
I mean, I would hate to posit, but I mean, if I had to throw out a possibility, it would probably be social, cultural, like impacts or influences, right? We have to fit into these very specific molds in society.
Right.
Even if we're counter to the typical mold, there's still molds within molds.
Yeah.
If that makes sense within like our culture. And so it could potentially be that. That's not my area, so I'm not sure. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth in that regard. But I could certainly see that as a possibility.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, obviously there is a big difference between people who have the resources and people who do not have the resources to transition, right? We obviously see the Caitlyn Jenners of the world who are, millionaires, which make transitioning look easy, but we definitely know that that's not the case.
Right.
There are so many different surgery options, and how far you want to go into your transition, whether you want to keep all your original body parts or get new body parts. There are just so many ways, but there are some non-medical physical transitions that you can do as well. Right? That are of no cost or of very low cost.
Yeah. And so, I would say the next step after, coming out to yourself, like it can be overwhelming to be transgender, because there's like this whole, thing that you have to do. You have to like come out to your friends if you want them to call you by the right pronouns. And then some people decide to go on this medical journey.
Right.
And like for a lot of people, they're not even sure about what their medical journey might include.
Yes. Yeah.
And so for me, I like did a lot of research. I actually created a TV show that aired on TLC.
Nice.
It's called I sold it under the name Trans Fat, but it was called Too Fat to Transition is what it aired under, like a 3-part like special or whatever. And I was like interviewing, I think I interviewed maybe at least like 50 to 100 people for that show.
Wow.
And then by interviewing them, I was like, oh wait, like they were saying all the same things that I was thinking in my head.
Yeah.
And I would like interview the doctors too. And I was kind of like asking questions that I was curious about, like personally, but I like didn't tell anyone.
But this was before you had even...
Yeah, before I started hormones while I was making that show.
Got it. Okay.
And where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So one of the things that I did early on is I paid $1,000 deposit in order to get on a list to be scheduled for a vagina surgery.
Wow.
Which is called gender affirmation surgery, if you want to be politically correct. Older terms are gender reassignment surgery. But yeah, gender affirmation surgery is what we like to say. It used to be confirmation as well.
Okay. But so also hormones. That's one of the very first things that I feel like a lot of people when they're very first transitioning.
See, I'm forgetting things. There's so many things you have to freaking do.
No, but I do feel like that is step one, because that's going to change like your actual like autonomy of the body, right?
And
like
some people take a lot of hormones, and some people take less. Like, I think I would take more if I was experiencing more like hair loss or something, but
won't the hormones actually physically like change the breast and things of that nature? Am I wrong in saying that? I don't want to be
No, they do. They do cause you to grow breast tissue. A big thing that I noticed was your fat redistributes itself. So as a male, your fat goes straight to your stomach, like over your abs. And as a female, it goes to your sides and your hips.
Yeah.
And so and
that changed with your hormones.
Yeah, and that changed. And I kind of freaked out for a second, because I was like, oh my God, I'm getting fat. I was like, the hormones are making fat. And then I like realized, I was like, oh no, wait, the weight's just it's going to a different place than it once did before.
Yeah.
And so then it was like exciting after I realized that. So.
And now you say that in the beginning you signed up to have that confirmation surgery, but you never went through.
Yeah, I never went through and had it. And so usually like they want you to wait for 2 years like living in the body before you can have the surgery. But in this case, the surgeon was the top like surgeon in the world for it, and she had a 2-year just wait list to get on it. And during that time, I like got more confident in myself and began exploring, like trying to unlearn things, to be quite honest, that we grew up with. And one of the things was that, you know, gender is not black or white, but many times we see it like that. We're like, oh, you want to be a girl now? Okay, like you have to look like this.
Right.
And it wasn't until I got to this like weird, like futuristic like mindset where someone described genitals as being positive and negative space. And, you know, positive spaces are something you can grab, hold on to. So like a breast, like penis, balls, whatever. And then, you know, negative space being a hole. So like, you know, butthole, vagina, other holes. I don't know. And
a lot of negative space is what she's saying.
Yeah. And so when it comes
positive.
And
body.
And so most people, they usually just have one positive space. They either have the breasts or they have the dick and the balls.
Right.
But for me, there's some people out there that can have both. And that's kind of special to be able to have both. It's very different. And for people who find themselves or identify as bisexual, that is like the cream of the crop. Because we still do have a negative space, like 2 of them if they want to use it.
Yeah.
But it's just like, all this positive energy that
I always think that your combination of body is what I would think to be the ideal partner for me personally. I've always said that because I don't love vaginas, so I prefer a penis, but I do love breast and I love women and I think they're sensual, and I love women's lips and kissing women because they're softer and lighter, and it's just I think you've done perfect.
And I think a lot of people are just now starting to realize that because they don't understand, like, why are they attracted to this, and does this make them gay or but
which again, we're all on that Kinsey scale, right? From 0 to 6, 0 making you completely straight and 6 making you completely gay, right? But we're all kind of in this like this space in between, and I don't really know where I lie, and I think over the years mine has changed, but I think that's true with any person's sexuality. Is like over the years things change and ebb and flow.
Definitely.
And you know what you're interested in this year might not be something you're interested in 10 years from now, you know, so
like getting a vagina,
right? No longer interesting.
And so like after like 2 years they end up calling me, and they're like, okay, we're here to schedule you for your surgery finally. And I was just like,
thank you.
Actually, no, thank you. Yeah. And then I was like, can I get my $1,000 back, like my deposit?
Were you?
And they said no. And I was like, wait, so I paid $1,000, not even to be scheduled for anything. Not even, I never met with the doctor, never like sent in paperwork or anything. And I also had, that was the doctor I cast on the TV show I created. So
and you gave them extra
gave
PR.
them a TV show I gave them paychecks, and then they took $1,000. I'm still kind of butthurt about it. I'm like,
I would be so
that's
butthurt.
The story of how I paid $1,000 to not have a vagina.
Wow.
But and that's a kind of a point of tension for me in general. It's common in plastic surgery. There's like surgeons who are in very high demand.
Yeah.
A lot of them actually will charge a deposit just to meet with them.
My nose. Yeah.
One in particular, I think they were in Beverly Hills maybe. I was just calling to like check on pricing of something.
Yeah.
And I think it was a little taboo because I think it's like some like the butt implants, I think it's kind of like illegal to do, or there's some weird, like they don't advertise it, or like putting silicone back there. They don't really advertise it, but I was calling to find out like pricing for that. And they wanted me to pay a $500 deposit just to even, I'm like, I don't know if and I said, no, this is, and I told them how offensive it was. I said, like, some of your clients may be wanting to be, you know, supplement their bodies, but for me, it's like affirming. I'm trying to affirm my body, and like, they just didn't understand that. And also insurance pays for it for now.
Well, that's
for trans
good.
people.
That's good. So, but no, it's crazy out there. I did the same thing. I paid $1,000 for consultations I never got because I took my fifth doctor, and every doctor I saw was a $250 deposit just to go.
I don't even know how much money I've spent on just consultations that I never used.
And also, some of those consultation doctors, I was like, they didn't want me as a patient. They were so rude.
Do not, like, if they make you pay something or try to pressure you into getting surgery of saving money, you should never get plastic surgery from that doctor.
Yeah,
absolutely not. No,
I agree.
I think you raised some interesting points about access to care, the expense of transitioning, but also the journey itself. Before you can even schedule those kinds of appointments and meetings, there's another part of the process that's typically required with a diagnosis of some kind and
a mental evaluation.
Absolutely, right, with gender dysphoria. And so all of those things typically have to go kind of in a really specific and sometimes really challenging order that takes a very long time.
It's meeting with someone you've never met before and having them confirm that you're transgender, which is traumatic in itself.
Yeah, I can. You're literally trying to prove to someone that this is what you need.
And the reason that's so hard is because at the same time, when you're just coming out, you're also having to deal with family, friends, worried about losing your job or your home. And so to have all that combined, that's why that's what makes transitioning really hard, because there's so many things you have to do just to like prove yourself to others.
Yeah.
It's become a little more relaxed in California. As I understand, you used to have like need like 2 letters and stuff to do certain things, but now it's like maybe just 1 or if even. So
and then again, it's the family pressures, the social pressures. I mean, I don't want to dive too deep into it, but like the pressures of even trying to date and things of that nature, like how people are comfortable with you as a person becomes a whole new subset, which is a lot for any person to deal with. Like, mentally, that is a really hard game to wrap your brain around, that you're constantly explaining who you are as a person and trying to rationalize you as a human to other people. I can only imagine.
Yeah, and you're definitely like in an awkward middle school phase when you transition for at least like, I'd say maybe like 3 years.
Yeah.
You don't know how to do your hair. You don't know like how to do makeup, and you don't know how to dress appropriately or wear clothes. I've heard this from many girls. You get really excited to go shopping, your first shopping trip when you transition. And so then you go and look at your closet and all you have is high heels and club wear and sparkly dresses. And when it's cold and you just need to like wear a sweater, all you have is crop tops. And I still have that issue.
I have that issue. Are you kidding me? I have that issue so bad.
You're like, oh, Britney Spears doesn't stay warm.
I went hiking with a girlfriend in Vermont, and she said that exact thing to me. She was like, dress warm. And I brought my warmest stuff. And then we get out there and she was like, I can still see your stomach. And I was like, well, yeah, all my hoodies are crop tops. Like every hoodie I own is a crop top. She was like, we need you to get real clothes. I was like, these are real, but they're not real warm. I live in Los Angeles.
But that was a fun part. I remember one of the first times I went shopping, I was still like very much at the beginning, like, you know, still look like male. And my friends, I think we went to brunch, and then we went in a group of like 5 or 6 of us, and we went to the secondhand store, which the ones in Hollywood, they're like really great.
Yeah,
they have like real ass designer shit there.
I love going secondhand shopping. Yeah.
They like, I went to the dressing room, and my gay friends just pulled all the stuff off the racks and just brought everything to me. And so like I had like this closet that was composed of like different things that different people picked out for me.
Oh, God.
Yeah, some of the stuff I still wear. I bought like
that's good.
$3,000 jacket for like $90. Like, yeah,
amazing.
That's why, I love secondhand.
I do too. There's a store right there on Santa Monica Boulevard next to the
the Crossroads.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
That's my favorite one. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we have talked about like your transition. Obviously, you started it. I only know this because we talked about 7 years ago, correct?
Yeah, so I started 7 years ago secretly.
Okay.
And then I forget what date I came out on. It was either 5 or 6. I think it might be 6 years. I lost track of time with the pandemic.
So what would you say in typical? Because obviously it's going to matter so differently in what you have the resources to do and things of that nature. But if someone's asking, like, just in general, like, how long does a transition take? Yeah,
so like once you like come out and everything, if you're going to go like a surgery route, not everyone does that, by the way.
Right.
Like you don't have to have breasts, or you don't have to do anything. You can just go by your new pronouns.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like, really common with the younger generation nowadays too. But if you want to do like a full transition and kind of like look like me, or like go get like your facial feminization surgery, your vagina, your tracheal shave. Am I missing something? Oh, electrolysis.
Breasts,
it takes like,
all the other things.
Yeah, I'm still like the surgical journey. If you have the money up front, it can take like 1 to 2 years.
Oh, that's if you have the funds.
If you have the funds,
right.
Mine was 3 years because I didn't have the funds.
Right. Well, that's still really good though. I feel like.
And then with electrolysis, I've been getting electrolysis for 6 or 7 years, and I'm still really like right now. My skin's not tanned, and I have like little spots all over me because I'm still going through electrolysis.
Wow.
And it just like never ends.
Yeah.
And thankfully insurance pays for it now.
Yeah.
I've spent at least like $20,000 on it, and insurance covers almost all of it now.
Wow.
I only pay $5.
That was just my nose. But yeah.
Yeah.
Surgery is not.
Just talk about hair removal.
Yeah.
And that's just because I live in California.
Right.
And in other states, it's most likely not covered by your insurance.
Yeah, that's crazy. So. But there are things that you can do that no cost, like we said earlier. So there are things like if you're transitioning from female to male, there's the chest binding, which is basically just like tying down the breast. If you're transitioning from male to female, there's like tucking and things of that nature to kind of hide the penis in your clothing.
Yeah,
so
which I don't do, by the way.
No?
No, and people will comment on Instagram.
Really?
Yeah, I don't do that. It's painful. It's uncomfortable.
I have heard it is very
I think you have to use like, some people like use like duct tape or
right.
I don't like doing things like
so
with balls and smashing them.
Yeah.
And so I always I dress differently. Like I can't like wear a silk skirt on like South Beach in the wind, which I made a mistake of getting. And
but it's interesting that people are still commenting even on that. Like, just let me have my penis. Like, why does it matter where I put it or if I'm tucking it away or whatever it is?
Yeah. And so now there's like a new movement. So like when I go dance, I'm in like full on lingerie, like
free the willy,
untucked. Yeah. And so people, I think they start like I look like a Victoria's Secret model, but like with a nice dick, and so it's new for people, and I think everyone has to get comfortable to it. But I feel like I'm like that doing visibility work.
Yes,
I don't know.
Not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
They wear pink jackets.
Yeah, that they do. That they do.
Oh, I also wanted to mention too, for any listener who like wants to transition and lives in a place where there aren't resources. A big thing that a lot of trans people are doing nowadays is they are specifically working for companies that fully cover a transition. And so it doesn't matter what your industry is. Like if you're trying to be a lawyer in law school, go get a job at Starbucks, go get a job for Apple, work at the Apple store. They will fully cover, no matter what state you live in, like facial feminization, electrolysis,
that's fantastic.
Breast augmentation, vagina, whatever, penis.
Yeah.
I think there's a reverse surgery that females to male can do to create somewhat of a penis too.
Yeah. There is. Yeah. Is it the medioplasty?
Yes.
Okay. And that is what I have heard of. So that's the one where you elongate the clitoris. That's all I've ever known of the female
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, that's the only thing I thought. I didn't even know there was a creating a penis.
What's
from
like the length
flesh.
that people want? Like how many inches? Like,
well, I think that's
she has
the
a
thing
9-inch clit.
I think that's the thing is it can only grow so long, also, and so it is still going to be a smaller penis on the scale. But I didn't know there was phalloplasty, which is creating the penis with other flesh.
Yeah, and so it almost gets
like a fatty flesh then.
So they can take fatty flesh. It depends.
I think it's from your forearm.
From your forearm or other parts of your body.
Because people get cool tattoos to cover up where they got it taken from.
But then how do you get an erection?
So that's a little bit more complicated. So there's internal mechanisms that you can pump up. There's different things that you can do if you want it to be...
They use the vacuum chambers too, I think. What is it? Like a penis pump, but like for down there, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so there's a couple of different choices, and so that becomes challenging because you have like a pretty big array of options, and so some people will wear like packing so that they can feel what it feels like to have something in that area,
right.
So turning that negative space, as you would say, to that positive space, and so the next step would be to then building it or elongating the clitoris.
Right.
But within those two, there's also a lot of options as well, and how much function it can actually have is often somewhat limited sometimes, and it's really greatly going to depend on what your options are, what your physical body is made up of, right? And so like there's all of those things that are going to contribute to the options that are available to each person individually.
Interesting. Well, I learned a lot.
Me too.
So much that I really don't know about it, and I feel like that's the kind of world at large right now. Is there's just so much unknown.
Yeah, I'm still learning every day.
Yeah. I mean, we all are, and we all have so much more to learn. So I'm super thankful for you for opening up and talking about this with us and giving us at least a little bit better perspective into your life and the things that you are dealing with and how other people can safely transition. So
yay, happy
Thank
to
you
share.
For that. Yeah, appreciate that. Ashley, do you want to tell the people where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on social media at Ashley Ryan TV or in Diplo's DMs. Respond, please. Thank you.
I love it. All right, Dr. Eddie, thank you so much for your public health perspective. We really appreciate you and all the information you bring to the show. And until next time, guys, adios.